Arriving at Dvaitavan, Duryodhana camped about 4 miles from the lake. His many attendants built him a house surrounded by fruit trees near a good water supply. Separate houses were constructed for Karna, Shakuni, and Duryodhana's brothers. Duryodhana then went to see the large herd of cattle. He examined their limbs and supervised their counting and marking by the herdsmen. And when all the work was done, the Kuru prince wandered cheerfully throughout the region, enjoying himself with his friends and women. His entourage roamed about the woodlands at pleasure, like celestials enjoying themselves in the Nandana groves. The herdsmen, who were all expert at singing and dancing, entertained their royal guests, who in turn distributed first-class food and drinks to the herdsmen. After the entertainment, Duryodhana decided to go hunting. Attended by his followers, he went about the forest, killing hundreds of bison, buffaloes, boar, deer, bears, and gaviyas. The hunting afforded him the opportunity to see the delightful regions in the forest, which resounded with the sweet notes of peacocks and swarmed with bees intoxicated by the honey of fragrant flowers. And as the prince went through the forest, like Indra amid the gods, he gradually came to Dvaitavana Lake. On the opposite shore of the lake, Yudhishthir was performing the sacrifice known as Rajarshi. Guided by Brahmanas, he sat with Draupadi, making offerings into the sacred fire. Duryodhana, desiring to display his opulence before the Pandavas, instructed his men to build pleasure houses along the lake shore. Immediately they went toward the lake and looked for a suitable site. But as they came close to the lakeside, they heard a voice calling out, "Stop! Who are you? And why have you come to this place? Know me to be Citrasena, the king of the Gandharvas. This lake and its surrounding woodlands belong to me." Duryodhana's soldiers looked around and saw the Gandharva surrounded by other celestials and apsaras. He was sporting in the lake, and he told the soldiers to go back to wherever they had come from. The soldiers returned to Duryodhana and gave their report. Duryodhana then detailed a number of his most powerful generals to drive the Gandharva and his followers away. The generals went before Citrasena and said, "The powerful son of Dhritarashtra, King Duryodhana, has come here to sport. Therefore you should leave this place immediately." But the Gandharvas simply laughed. Citrasena's reply was harsh. "Your wicked-minded Duryodhana has little sense. Otherwise, how could he command we who dwell in heaven? We are not his servants. You are fools to bring us such a message and to thus meet your own deaths. Go back to where you came from, or else find yourselves within the abode of Yamaraj this very day." The soldiers again returned to Duryodhana and told him that if he wished to use the lake, he would have to fight with the Gandharvas. Duryodhana's anger rose. How dare anyone oppose him? Why, he was the ruler of the earth. Now he would teach these Gandharvas a lesson. So he barked out orders to his men. "Go now, chastise these wretches who have so much displeased me." Even if this were Indradev sporting with the Celestials, still I would not tolerate it. Knowing the Gandharvas to be formidable fighters, Duryodhana's generals took thousands of heavily armed soldiers and returned to the lake. They filled the woods with their loud roars and crushed everything as they advanced. The Gandharvas once again forbade their approach, but the soldiers disregarded the Gandharvas and came onto the shores, their weapons uplifted. Enraged, Citrasena ordered his followers, "Punish these wicked wretches!" Thousands of Gandharvas then rushed at Duryodhana's men. The soldiers panicked and fled. Karna alone stood his ground. Karna checked the Gandharvas with his arrows. Displaying his lightness of hand, Karna struck down the enemy by the hundreds, lopping off their heads and limbs. Gradually, Karna forced the Gandharva army back. But the Gandharvas regrouped and came again in even larger numbers. The Suta's son, Karna, fought furiously, and the earth was quickly covered with the bodies of slain Gandharvas. Hearing the clamor of battle, Duryodhana, Dushasana, and their other brothers raced to assist Karna. The clatter of their chariot wheels as they charged into battle resembled the roars of Garuda. A fearful fight then ensued, and gradually the Gandharva warriors were overpowered. They retreated to Citrasena, and the Kurus sent up a loud victory shout. Seeing his army so afflicted, the Gandharva king mounted his chariot and rushed toward the Kurus. Citrasena knew all the methods of warfare, and he fought with mystical weapons. The Kuru heroes were rendered senseless by Citrasena's illusions. It appeared that every one of them was surrounded and was being attacked by Gandharvas. They cried out in fear and fled panic-stricken from the fight. Only Duryodhana, Karna, Dushasana, and Shakuni remained fighting, although they were all severely wounded. The Gandharvas concentrated on Karna, surrounding him and raining down showers of weapons. With swords and axes, they cut down his chariot and slew his horses and charioteer. Karna leaped down with a sword and shield in his hands and mounted the chariot of Vikarna. Urged on by Karna, Vikarna immediately fled from the battlefield in fear for his life. Now, only Duryodhana and his brothers remained. They hurled weapons at the Gandharvas, but the Celestials closed in on them. They smashed Duryodhana's chariot, and he fell stunned to the ground. Citrasena immediately jumped down and seized the prince with such force that it seemed as if he would kill Duryodhana. Meanwhile, the other Gandharvas took Duryodhana's brothers prisoner, while other Gandharvas ran into the Kauravas' camp, seizing their wives. Hundreds of Kurus were taken prisoner by the Gandharvas, who bound them with chains and herded them together. As some of the Kuru soldiers had escaped, they ran around to the other side of the lake and approached Yudhishthir. Falling before him, they implored, "Oh, the Gandharvas have captured Dhritarashtra's mighty armed son. Duryodhana's brothers and women are also being held prisoner. Oh, son of Kunti, please save them, save them." Bhima looked at the crying followers of Duryodhana and laughed. "Ha ha ha! What we would have had to arrange with great endeavor, by collecting elephants, horses, chariots, and infantry soldiers has already been accomplished by the Gandharvas. Indeed, it is fortunate for us that there are still those in this world who would do us good. Plainly, Duryodhan had come here with evil intentions, but he has been overtaken by unforeseen consequences. Surely, this is what he deserves for all of his sinful motivations. No doubt, that evil-minded one wanted to gloat over us in our misery. Well now, he deserves to suffer. Yudhishthir stopped Bhima's sarcastic words. My dear brother, this is not the time for cruelty. Why do you speak so harshly to these Kurus who are frightened and have come seeking our protection? Can we let our family disputes come in the way of honor? Among ourselves we are 5, and they are 100. But when an enemy of the Kurus has come, we are 105 brothers. That wretched-minded Gandharva knows we are living here, but disregarding us, he has insulted the ladies of our family. Oh, my dear brothers, arm yourselves for battle. Go at once and rescue Duryodhana and his brothers and wives. The Kuru soldiers had arrived in great war chariots. Yudhishthir pointed to the chariots and said, Mount these golden chariots and rush upon the Gandharvas. Even an ordinary Kshatriya would try his best to protect one who seeks protection. What more shall I say to you, O Vrikodara? Indeed, what could give us more happiness? The bestowal of a boon, the birth of a son, and sovereignty are all sources of joy. But the happiness of saving an enemy in distress is equal to all 3. Dear Bhimasena, your sworn enemy Duryodhana now depends upon you for his life. Could anything give you more pleasure than to protect him? I could go myself, but I am bound by the vow of the sacrifice that I am performing. So I am asking all of you, my brothers, to go in my place and liberate the prisoners. Upon hearing Yudhishthir's command, Arjuna vowed, if the Gandharvas do not release the Kauravas, then the earth shall drink their blood. When they heard Arjuna's vow, the Kuru soldiers were encouraged. They handed over their chariots, and the 4 brothers, after donning armor, mounted them. Headed by Bhimasena, they raced to the other side of the lake, appearing like 4 blazing fires. When the other Kurus saw them arrive, ready for battle, they shouted in joy. Hearing their shouts, the Gandharvas, who were preparing to depart with their prisoners, turned and saw the Pandavas approaching. The Gandharva warriors immediately took up their battle formation. A skirmish ensued as they released arrows at the Pandavas, and the Pandavas countered their attack. Arjuna, hoping that they may be able to convince the Gandharvas without bloodshed, raised his bow and called out, O Gandharvas, let go of my brother, King Duryodhan. We obey only one person's order. Under his rule, we pass our days free from misery. O descendant of Bharata, we are always obedient to his command alone. Since you disregard me, I am now angry. Contact with others' wives and fighting with ordinary men are not proper behavior for celestials. At Dharmaraj's command, you should release the Kauravas and their women. Otherwise, I will have to rescue them by force. Arjuna could understand that the Gandharvas were ignoring him. Immediately, he fired fierce arrows. The Gandharvas turned and swiftly responded with their own blazing shafts. Quickly they surrounded the Pandavas, sending arrows, axes, maces, and swords at them by the thousands. The brothers, facing the four directions, countered their weapons while simultaneously attacking the Gandharvas. An extraordinary battle took place, with thousands of Gandharvas fighting against just 4 human beings. The Gandharvas tried to destroy the Pandavas' chariots, as they had destroyed the chariots of Karna and Duryodhana. But the Gandharvas were checked by the Pandavas' arrows and could not get close enough to do any harm. Now Arjuna was enraged. He began to invoke celestial weapons. He threw the Agneya Astra, which slew thousands of Gandharvas. Meanwhile, Bhima's forceful arrows killed innumerable other Gandharvas, while the 2 sons of Madri, Nakula and Sahadev, fighting with prowess, attacked and killed hundreds of other Gandharvas. Then the Gandharvas rose up into the sky, taking with them their prisoners. But Arjuna released arrows by the tens of thousands and created a net over the Gandharvas. The Gandharvas angrily attacked Arjuna by throwing down maces, darts, and swords. Checking their weapons, Arjuna fired crescent-headed shafts which tore off the Gandharvas' heads and limbs. They tried overcoming Arjuna with a fearful shower of celestial weapons, but Arjuna held off all those missiles with his own arrows. And by invoking various mystical weapons, Arjuna created havoc among his foes as they screamed in terror. Citrasena could see that his followers were being routed by the Pandavas. He rushed at Arjuna with his mace held aloft. With swift arrows, Arjuna cut Citrasena's iron mace into 7 pieces. The Gandharva king resorted to illusion and appeared to attack the Pandavas from all sides. Arjuna then invoked the Shabdavedi weapon, which destroys illusion. Citrasena disappeared from sight, continuously raining down weapons of every description. But Arjuna attacked him with arrows capable of striking an unseen enemy. Citrasena, who had fought the Pandavas only to protect his honor, then appeared in front of Arjuna and spoke. "Behold, it is only your friend fighting with you." Seeing Citrasena approaching in peace, Arjuna withdrew his weapons and his brothers did the same. The Gandharva king and Arjuna inquired after each other's welfare, and then Arjuna said, "O hero, what purpose do you serve by punishing the Kurus? Why do you persecute Duryodhana and his followers?" "O Dhananjay, long ago I knew the real purpose for Duryodhana's coming here. He wanted to mock you in your adversity and flaunt his own wealth. Understanding this, Indra ordered me to capture this wretch and his followers and to bring them before him in chains. So, allow us to carry them away." No. If you want to please me, Citrasena, then let them go. Dharmaraj has commanded it. They are our kinsfolk. But this sinful Duryodhana is full of vanity. He does not deserve to be freed. He has deceived and wronged your brother and grievously offended your wife. O Arjuna, he came here to add insult to injury. Yudhishthira does not know his reason for coming. Therefore, let us explain it to Yudhishthira and see what he decides after that. Arjuna agreed, and so they all went to Yudhishthira to inform him of what had transpired. And Yudhishthira replied, "My dear sir, it is fortunate for us that although you possess great prowess, you did not slay the wicked sons of Dhritarashtra. Our family honor has thus been saved, and it will be further saved if you release them. I am pleased to see you. Now, please tell me if there is anything I can do for you, and then you can return in peace to your own abode." "Oh, Yudhishthira, I am so delighted by your words. I am fully satisfied simply by seeing you, O Great One. Now we shall free all the Kurus." Citrasena brought his captives into the Pandavas' presence. Then all of a sudden, Indradev appeared and sprinkled celestial nectar upon the Gandharvas who had been slain. And they all regained their lives. Headed by Citrasena, they rose up into the sky and then vanished. In an affectionate voice, the ever-compassionate Yudhishthira spoke to Duryodhana. "O my child, never again commit such a rash act, for a reckless man never becomes happy. O Kuru Prince, now be blessed with all your brothers. Go home and do not be despondent." But Duryodhana was now devastated. His heart was splitting into two, for he had achieved the exact opposite of what he had intended. Instead of humiliating his enemies, he himself had been humiliated. And as he made his way back to the city, he moved about as if he were unconscious and without free will. He said nothing to anyone. Leaving the Pandavas to worship the sacred fire and the Brahmanas, Duryodhana hung his head in shame. Trinadapi sunichena tarar iva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sada Hari. Hari Haraye Namaha Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopala Govinda Rama Shri Madhusudana Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam. Kalau nastyeva, 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 gatir anyata. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.